Welcome again, Keepers of Light, and I call you that because you are just that, Keepers of Light. So it's pretty windy in my area, so please excuse the background noise if there is any. I had recorded a couple times before, and this is yesterday and the day before, but I just kept getting interrupted, and in that way, I just kind of decided that, actually one of those messages, for some reason, it just came out where the audio was really inaudible in certain spots in certain places. So even just re-listening to it made me realize that no, I can't really send this out, but or share it. But then there were elements to those recordings where I could see how it wasn't as free flowing it wasn't as flowing a mess. They weren't as free flowing messages as I had intended to have to display. So, if this is your first time here on this channel, hello. My name is Sophia, and I am a starseed. I am an oracle. I am an alchemist. I am a messenger at this period of time of ascension for humanity, and I am here as a reminder, serving as a reminder to those aspects of ourselves, the functioning of our, the mechanical functioning of our energetic systems, which prevail beyond the beliefs and the patternings of thoughts that we and beliefs that we have come to believe in. And therefore, I am a pattern interrupter. In many ways, I exist just in the way that I am. I exist in that way that will, when I come into contact with others, create it'll kind of trigger something. It'll trigger change, is what I'm saying. So, where do I start? I wanted to talk about water today. And when I looked at my phone a few minutes ago, I had a message from my town, a message about there being a water main break and the water pressure was really low. And I'm thinking, okay, my intention was to come on here and just talk about water, the element of water. And the reason being because I identify with water, my what I am knowing of 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 my composition, my energetic composition of beingness, is that I have a very watery energetic field, in that way that in this lifetime I've had struggles with the concrete, more solid perceptions of and constructions of reality, in that way that has not did not allow for the free-flowing nature of myself to express without feeling as though I would be, what do you call it, like a threat, threat to other people. In many ways, I still feel that way. I still feel like some of the things I say are perceived as being threatening, but there's nothing in particular that I wind up saying. Like, I'm not one of those people who comes out and says, like, I hate this or I hate that. I do get angry. I'm just as human as everyone else, except that I do have an awareness that I exist beyond my human point of beingness. And I guess I'm just here sharing my perspective, because I noticed that the way things have been constructed is that we don't pay attention to certain things, that there are certain hidden truths that I'm aware of and have been aware of, but have not been able to express. And this, again, is really just because it's kind of like if you can imagine, I'm also a channel. So if you can imagine that the entire of beingness is really consistent of and looked on, if you were able to look on it as an ocean of beingness, then it could be said that we are all just aspects of water, you know, the existence of water, and that we have the potential to have a free flowing nature to our existence, and that we're actually aspiring to get to a more free flowing way of beingness, versus experiencing these type of obstructions that we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. It has come to a point where just getting things done can be difficult, depending upon the status of quality of life that you are existing in. The more dense your experiences, the harder it is to be able to just, to survive even. And I'm here to really just paint a way of looking at things, so that we're taking an opportunity to this period of time, which is really a gap between the collapsing of old systems and patterns of structure of reality. And it is the perfect moment for us to relook, or to learn how to adapt. Now, I wanted to also point out, before I go into this point, what point is that? I don't know. I'm going to get to some point. So I wanted to say that, one of the things I've been doing so far is really yapping and yapping and yapping on this page about letting go old beliefs, old thoughts, old patterns, things that don't work, um, old frequencies of beingness that no longer work. And it could be taken that my messaging is implying that we gotta kind of like rebuild ourselves in that way, that we're like a blank slate and then we're rebuilding from fresh. But I wanted to correct that perception, if that is the perception I have been giving that I've been giving. And just to say that what happens is, once you stripped away the non-functioning parts of the reality, the non-functioning systems of thoughts and beliefs in your life, in your way of perceiving what life is consistent of, then you come back into your natural state of beingness. And one of the things that we know, that is common knowledge, is that we are mostly water. I think it's like 60% or something, 70%. We're mostly water. We're more water than we are um, concrete structure. When I came into this incarnation, it was hard for me because my awareness was more so in believing myself to be more watery. But then I wasn't necessarily cognizant to that level where I could obviously express in this way, to be aware at this level that I am aware of the differences. And so I was having problems with entering into a room with people, or interacting with people, and being able to, and being confronted with the solidity of their structure, meaning the solidity of their thinking, the solidity of their perception of themselves as being solid, even, that it kind of like, it's almost like I would feel like I'm walking into brick walls. And it is not like it's not a criticism of people. It's just to say that the more attached people are to their beliefs, and the more attached they are to their reality as being solid, as being, this is the way that it is. When pigs learn how to fly, is when I'm going to believe that it's possible for, for certain things to happen, for galactic contact. Now, that's a whole different topic. But when you come from my perspective, then what that presents as, when you're being and existing in a reality like this. It's like I'm living within a contrast that is severe, particularly if and during those points in time when I wasn't aware of that was what was happening. And in that way, when I can kind of talk to you about this way of looking at things, because I myself have done it. To be able to, I myself have been bridging that gap between the contrast that of contrast to my natural state of awareness of beingness. And in that way I can offer to you the ways in which I have come to being able to do that. I'm tripping over my words. So this is just to throw out this is this conversation here is just for me to throw out ways of perceiving reality. I'm not asking for you to incorporate my way of seeing things, but I walk you through the ways that I see things, because there will be similarities for you that you will find in these discussions that will help you to find your own way of mapping out your own map of reality. And it's really just becoming aware of your own map of reality, and not so much becoming aware of mine so that you can copy mine, but becoming aware of mine so that you can learn how to become aware of your own. And in that way, there is a contrast that exists, and a contrast that is there for you to become aware of. And this is another way in which you can begin to define what I am speaking of here in terms of the ascension process. It's why I named this channel what it is, Keeper of Light Awareness, because the main feature here of discussion is about raising your awareness, which is the same thing as saying you're raising your vibratory field, raising your frequencies of beingness. And here I am flowing like a river and noticing that there are periods of time where I have to flow around certain objects and certain people, just because it's so solid that I can't that the perception of beingness of that object is so defined by its solidity that it's not my it's not my place to change per people's perspectives, is what I'm saying. What I've learned is that it's not my job to change your perspective or perception. That's your job. But it is my job to show different ways of being, in expressing the different ways of being that I have come across that have been helpful to me. And so if you start to consider yourself as more so a being that is consistent of water, then it may become easier for you to be able to understand some of the and to shadow work, to look at your life in retrospect and be able to determine those parts of your life, if not in retrospect then at this moment what is occurring, to be able to identify those points of contention. Which, I'm sorry, the door is like the, what do you call it, the outside door is, yeah, it's very windy here today, like extra windy. So that door kind of got unlatched. And if you hear it, I'm sorry about that noise. I'm not going to be on too much longer. But so if you start to think of yourself as a being of water, then it will help you to, in that way that it becomes a metaphor to your existence, in that way that you can begin to understand that the construction of reality, or the perception of reality that is more so leaning towards looking at life as though it's only solid, you're, you know, you can begin to understand and raise awareness to those ways that you can balance out your perception of reality. because reality is consistent not just of solidity but of non-solid structures. So whether it is that you're considering air, or water or plasma, I don't know all the different elements, but one of the ways in which I am encouraging you to look at things is to start to look at, one of the things I'm encouraging is for you to start to look at things from outside your existing perception of reality. In that way, that when you do so, you begin to see more of who you really are, which is really to remember more of who you really are. Now, what am I getting to here? So it came to a point where I just couldn't take it anymore, like in terms of not being able to show up in my own true light, to present in that sovereign way that I talked about a few videos before. I had talked about sovereignty, and I am still talking about sovereignty here in that way, that it is what we're marching towards. We are, but we are only able to express within our sovereignty by coming to the most basic nature of understanding of ourselves. And that is to say, the aspects of understanding ourselves which are detached from what we are thinking about ourselves and what we're believing about ourselves. It may appear to be a frightening prospect to let go of the attachments that you have to the solid nature of existence, but that in itself is a reflection of, the fear itself is simply a reflection of what the mind trying to hang on to a reality that is already collapsing. And so it just makes more sense to flow with the river, to surrender to the river of your life. Because when you surrender to the river of your life, it doesn't mean that now you have lost anything. It actually would equal that you have gained, and you wind up gaining a lot more ways in which to express in more empowering ways. One of which is, for example, with me, I mean, for example, with anyone, if you're able to perceive the water in your life, perceive what that stands for, you will find that it will allow you to connect to those intuitive abilities that you have as a human being. Those ways of connecting to your sense of this deep, one of which is one of which, because there's many different ways in which your intuitive or intuition shows up, but you will have a connection to, one of which is you will have a connection to this deep seated knowingness of the self. And that in itself is a way to be able to come into yourself in that way, where you can lead yourself into newer ways of being, newer, more empowered ways of being. See, the thing is we've been conditioned to believing that things that are different are threatening. And the repetitive nature of the words, which are more disempowering in nature, do themselves wind up solidifying in that way that it becomes a perceivable sense of self within you, and also a solid structure outside of you, which may seem real, but is really just a projection of the mind. Just taking a moment to connect back in again so I can recalibrate to this message. So the point is that life is meant to be more free flowing, but the only way that it can be that way is for us to no longer be so focused in on the solidity of it. We have to learn how to balance out our viewpoint so that we can balance out our perceptions of what reality really is. If we are paying more attention to just the solid things, then we miss all the information that is there within the non-solid, the non-physical. We even miss understanding that a lot of the beliefs and thoughts that we have aren't themselves based on the actual truth of how things are. And then we create these maps about reality within ourselves, which are really based on ways of being that are not helpful to us. Ways of being that have been helpful to the few, the way things have been playing out. Ways of being that have been helpful to the few and detrimental to the majority. So here we are, having these discussions about ways of seeing, and it would seem as though having these type of conversations is pointless. But that would be the mind coming in again, demonstrating itself as being or as trying to be correct, or more so correct than what is being presented as an opportunity. And so there's always a choice. The choice is either to believe in what you're thinking and to continue believing in what you're thinking. Yet if you're choosing that, and what you're finding is that the results that you have been having aren't really what you're looking for, then perhaps it's time to make a new choice. Perhaps it's time to stop believing not just in the, oh gosh, I just had another stem of thoughts. So and this has to deal with like ingesting what we ingest, because when you're thinking about like water, you're drinking water, and when we're thinking about words are frequencies. Water itself can be looked on as a frequency. um, and so when we're looking at words, like the words I'm speaking right now and speaking out to you, they have influence on you in that way that your brain's going to take in the vibrations and then interpret what in picture form or whatever way of thinking that you have established within you, whatever is like more at forefront in terms of how you're interpreting things. We're always ingesting vibration. And yeah, my point was that maybe it's time that we learn how to choose what we're ingesting. I've said this away in other ways, and I continue to find new ways of saying them just because this information has always been here for me. And one of the things is because I have this ability to conceive of myself and perceive reality as being like an ocean. I'm able to wade in the ocean and channel information, which is really the basis of ancient truths. Just given that water itself is an element that is ancient itself. So I'm able to kind of pull up all this information and then look, go here or go there, like go every which way, flow every which way, and just pick up from there and just follow the river of thoughts. Is This is kind of like how I channel, really, is I just go into the abyss of the ocean, and then I flow in what ways that resonates with my beingness. And in that way, because we are connected in that way, that no matter who it is that is in your procession of reality, they're in your procession of reality because you're connected somehow, some way, in that way that is karmic in nature, and that we are both, all of us, learning and learning how to upgrade and update our systems of perception of beingness. So yeah, I've gone off on a tangent again, and I feel as though I should just end it here. I'm gonna see if I wrote down like any notes real quick to see whether or not maybe I can tie this a little bit better, tie this up a little bit better. So just give me a second. Wisdoms that will help you master the mechanics. Yeah, so I said all these things already, and I talked about the wall. I guess maybe I can go back to, to presenting this idea of structures that can be looked on as a wall of obstruction, and the most basic level of it is belief. When you are confronted with beliefs that aren't flowful, that they beliefs that do not flow, then what they do is they just kind of keep you from upgrading yourself in the ways that I just spoke of. So in many ways, we are here to learn how to swim in the stream of ocean that we come from. And but in the meantime, we are confronted with obstructions, one of which is our most all of which is really constructed within the mind. And so to allow ourselves to walk into the wall over and over and over again is pretty insane. And we're waking up to the fact that we've been not just walking up to walls, but ingesting ideas and ways of being that are unsupportive to our highest level of unfolding beingness. And so I will leave it here. And I'm hoping all of you remain well until we meet again next time. And I look forward to that moment. Until next time.